Hi everyone. The desperation to secure a home in Ireland has reached new depths. In the past number of hours, we've seen scenes of up to 400 people queuing in Seven Mills. That's a new development out in West Dublin, which is quite close to Tala and Clondalkin, looking to secure the keys to one of the 38 homes that were on sale today by Cairn Developments. Now, these homes were for sale at €480,000. This area of West Dublin is supposed to be a new town, which has been agreed to be a strategic development zone, and there was a local area plan put in place by South Dublin County Council in terms of having a population of up to 15 to 20,000 people in this part of West Dublin, which is quite close by to the Grand Canal. But there was up to 60 people queuing in their cars last night. From yesterday at 3 o'clock, there was people queuing overnight trying to secure one of these homes. It's absolutely just a frenzy in terms of trying to achieve a home in Irish society. We've seen that at the sharpest end, but it's completely manufactured disaster, all facilitated by deliberate and successive governments that have allowed this to manifest and worsen. And then it's been exacerbated by the immigration chaos we've seen, in particular over the past number of years. Currently, we have rents at over €2,053 in Ireland. That's just average rents. In Dublin, they're well over €2,500 per month. And then you go in terms of house prices. The average national house price is over €350,000. And in Dublin, it's in excess of five to €600,000. So absolutely extortionate and really pricing more and more people out of ever having the opportunity to own or even rent a home in their near their homes and in their communities as well. Hence, we have a massive immigration chaos as well, and then we have a massive amount of homelessness, and hence we have so many people who are sleeping in family houses at longer and longer stages of their life. And back in 2011, we had 22% of 25 to 39 year olds owned their own homes. Now it's down to 7%. That's a dramatic fall off the cliff in terms of people entertaining the prospect of owning their own home. And when you consider the average earnings about €50,000 per year, €500,000 is nearly 10 times the average earnings. So the correlation between incomes and property prices has really gone off the charts for ordinary people, while real wages haven't kept pace for the vast majority of people in Irish society. And they always talk about supply issues. The government always push this agenda towards supply issues to say it's an issue of supply. We need to keep building, building, building to resolve the disaster. But fundamentally, it is a question of speculation and a question of deliberate policies that has led to this. But obviously, it's been exacerbated because of the immigration chaos, for instance, in terms of the dramatic increase in population over the last 10 to 15 years, and in particular over the past 3 to 4 years. In terms of European Union populations, with Eurostat figures, we were 15 times the rate of the European average back in 2023. So 15 times more in terms of immigration, we beat the average by. Now, in terms of 2023, it was still about 5 or 6 times, and now it's still about 3 or 4 times the European average, which is absolutely unsustainable. And this is putting massive pressure on basic services and pushing more and more people over the edge because of the failure of government policies. But many in Irish society are doing quite well from what's going on. And in terms of household savings, are at the record levels. A lot of those household savings could be redirected through proper funding programs instead of the government looking for funding from private investors to supply homes in Ireland. But of course, they're now looking to more capital investment from international vulture funds to come in to profit up from the misery of others. We've seen that with the housing disaster, where one of the biggest landlords in Ireland is the Canadian Vulture Fund, cap rate, and obviously Irish rate as well, and notwithstanding many more international vultures like Kennedy Wilson, who are based in Beverly Hills, profiting from the misery of others, working through these real estate investment trusts that pay next to no tax in Ireland and fundamentally get massive, massive windfalls in terms of rent increases. And the government at the same time are now looking to get rid of the rent pressure zones because they say it's prohibiting massive investment. But as I said, there could be kickstarted of the investment there through the savings in banks to give people a proper return on that to satisfy the needs of ordinary people. Fundamentally, that's what could be really activated, but the government wouldn't even think about that. or perhaps taxing those very wealthier people a little bit more so those taxes can be redistributed in society? That's too difficult a question for the Irish government to answer because they wouldn't be interested in that. They're only a government that bows down to Brussels and abide by all their rules and regulations and look after the billionaires and the corporations at the expense of ordinary people. We saw that through the bank bailout and for many years since, where Micheál Martin has said that sovereignty is a backward looking idea. But what's critically important is in terms of many non-residents are buying properties in Ireland, and people who aren't even from the European Union and people from various other countries such as India and China. Previously, there was a golden visa scheme offered to rich investors that were coming here for a number of years on the condition that they invested in a real estate investment trust. This is just lunacy. So a lot of cash rich investors are coming in now as well, using the market as well to buy out property. And there's no restrictions on non-EU nationals and non-Irish nationals to essentially buy properties in Ireland. They can even get funded through various forms of mechanism in terms, if they even are looking for mortgages, through UK banks and other avenues to go up against people who are desperate for accommodation here in Ireland. But of course, who benefits? The bankers benefit, the developers benefit, of course they benefit, but ordinary people are the ones that carry the can. And in particular, we've seen the massive demographic shift in Ireland. We've also seen a massive increase in terms of the work permit scam that's been used by the Irish government to facilitate their big employers for cheaper labour. But what's also interesting is the work permit system in terms of the tech sector as well, where a lot of better paid international workers are coming to Ireland. And specifically, we've seen a dramatic increase in visas being offered to Indians. And of course, they're coming into the market and buying up a lot of properties as well. And perhaps if they're here for a couple of years, if there's a downturn in the economy, they'll rent out their properties and move away. And this is essentially what could happen, rather than having proper builds to buy for people that are affordable and are secure, and people have access to proper facilities in their communities. But that's what the Irish government should be standing up for. But they're not. They're only interested in facilitating this massive pyramid scheme, which benefits the very wealthy in society and also those that trickle down as well. And it's also interesting when you look at the note of more and more foreign nationals, for instance, being employed in terms of the Indians. There's about 2.6% of Indians now currently in the employment in Ireland as well. And this has increased dramatically, as I said, through big tech companies like, for instance, Intel and many more big tech companies and finance companies looking for mobile international labour, of course, as part of the globalist agenda. So rather than serving the interests of the Irish citizens, they're more interested in bowing down and opening up the door, even through property, which many countries have restrictions on. Ireland, of course, should have restrictions on it in terms of international capital. And as I said, they could activate the capital that's in Ireland as well through a redistribution of income. And plus, on top of that, activate the savings of over 150, 160 billion that's currently there in savings accounts, so people can get a return on those investments in terms of driving them in towards proper funding mechanisms for housing, which could be directed in a proper societal led approach, because a home should be seen as a social good in society, not something that where many more can profit off. And then when they're opening the door to non-EU citizens and non-residents to even buy property, there's no restrictions. It's just become a complete and utter Wild West, all facilitated by government policies. We need to start putting the needs of the people of Ireland first and putting the needs of our citizens first in terms of having a dignified existence and a right to a secure and affordable home, not something that's completely out of reach and only in the gift of the ones who can afford to pay those extortionate prices for homes. So thanks a lot for the support of my videos. Please share them. Please subscribe to my channel also as well. So from Dublin, Slán.